I get it now. Hey, it's Ali. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. And guess who finally finished the first series of the Percy Jackson books? The first 5. Percy Jackson the Olympian. The first 5 books. I finally finished them. It took me about a year. It took me a year just because I don't know. I like forgot about it like halfway through the year. Like 2022 was rough. It was rough. And I finally finished it as my last book on my Goodreads like challenge. I finished the last book. And now I'm here to talk about it today. I have a lot to say. So I'm going to section this video off into non-spoilers in the beginning, just in case there's anybody who hasn't read the books yet and really wants to get into it. So I'll give you like a spoiler-free review. And then the latter half of this video is just going to be all spoilers all the time. So I'll let you know when that part comes up. Like, yeah, if at any time you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe, because I would love to keep making videos like this, specifically book videos. I know like I'm not booktok, like I'm not a book YouTuber, and you know, I read occasionally, but like y'all really like it when I read like at least manga and stuff like that, so it would be nice to do that with books as well. So let me know. And if there's any manga or manga, book series, whatever that you want me to read and like talk about, I would really love to do Junji Ito. I have never read Junji Ito, but like I love horror and stuff, so it would be really nice to like read that and then do a little vlog style, like what are my thoughts on it, the same way I did Chainsaw Man. And maybe the next like Heroes of Olympus, I have recently gotten those as well as a gift, so maybe I could do little vlogs for each of those books, because I wanted to do it for this one because I did a first book on this one, a video for the first book, and while I did like obviously enjoy that book, I just didn't make a video about any of the other books because I didn't think anybody would want to see that. But if you want to see that, let me know down in the comments below, and let's jump into it. So I gotta get the books out. Oh lordy. So just as proof, here are the 5 books. I did finish them. Have you guys seen the like new covers that they have for these books? It almost made me want to get the new, because the covers look so nice, but these all line up, so I didn't want to like get the newer cover for just the last book. I was like, if I ever buy the entire set again, or if I'm gifting it to someone, maybe I'll get like that. But anyway, let's start off with the MC. I have never met a better MC in a book. Like, I'm just gonna say that Percy Jackson is one of the best MCs just like ever, period, especially written in books. I find that he's incredibly well written. The narrative voice that Rick gives him, Rick Riordan, the author, the narrative voice that he gives Percy throughout the entire book is so well done. Like, he is constantly humorous, but in a way that works for like, I think he's 12 in the beginning of the book, that works for like a 12-year-old boy growing up to like the age of 16. We see him grow, but he never loses like his spark, his pizzazz. Percy Jackson's humor is very dry. Like, I'm fully expecting, I know this won't happen, but like fully expecting in the adaptation, because the narration is done by Percy, I'm fully expecting that at some point Percy's just gonna look in the camera like he's in The Office, because the amount of shit that happens to Percy, and he just goes, "Can you believe this shit, guys? Can you believe this shit?" Like, it's so funny half of the time, and he's best boy. When we talk about best boy, let's talk about best boy. Percy is literally best boy, bruh. He's like one of the best MCs. I did not read Harry Potter, but like from everyone who I have seen who has read these books and has read the Harry Potter books, they're like, Percy is leagues better than Harry in any like type of thing. Harry who? And based off of, I didn't read any of the Harry Potter books, but I watched the first like 3 movies. Already, yeah, absolutely. Y'all forget that Percy's from New York, babe. He's from New York. He gonna fucking bust you the fuck up, little chappy ass. Bro, he will bust up Harry in like 2 seconds. Now, I'm not gonna spend the whole time, you know, comparing this to Harry Potter, but he will bust you up. Absolutely. Percy is about that life. And from the first 3 movies of Harry Potter, Harry is not about that life. He's not. But Percy definitely is. Oh, absolutely. Something that I really enjoyed throughout the books is the fact that while Percy is the main character and he is the chosen one, he is not like all powerful. In fact, like, no spoilers given, but there's a moment, especially in the last book, that kind of like hints at that, like, oh, he's the chosen one. And you would think a lot of the times in these young adult books, especially when they write male characters, they're like emotionally constipated and overpowered. And something that in this book a lot is dealing with your strengths and your weaknesses all at once. I still actually, all the kids of gods have like a fatal flaw. That's what it's called. I still don't know what Percy's is. I think it's heavily implied throughout the entire book series, but I still don't know what it is. If you know what it is, please sound off in the comments. I won't be mad. I genuinely don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if Percy knows what it is. I don't know. If it's something that's in relation to the rest of the book series, like the rest of the other series, and it comes up later, then never mind, don't say it. Just tell me that it comes up later in the other series. But if it was supposed to be heavily implied throughout these 5 books, and you were supposed to understand what it is by the end of the book, please tell me, because I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Percy is one guy. He's a 16, by the end of the series, he's a 16-year-old kid, and that never changes. While he has grown as a leader, he has grown strong in his powers, and this, that, the third. What makes this so different than most young adult or even children's books, because this is technically a children's book and not a young adult book. Learned that the hard way when I was running around in the young adult section trying to find Percy Jackson. Went up to a lady to ask, and she was like, it's in the children's section. I was like, thank you, ma'am. But what sets apart Percy from other people is that he never does this alone, and he never tries to. Well, let me take that back. There are some points where he tries to do things alone, but very quickly he learns that he can't. And a part of his journey of growth is learning to depend on other people, not because he doesn't trust people and not because he doesn't care, but rather because he cares too much. He cares too much for his friends to like let them do the things that they are capable of doing, especially Annabeth. It's like she is strong as fuck. Oh, we'll get to Annabeth in a second. But like she is strong, powerful, smart, all this other shit. But because he loves her and doesn't want her to get hurt, he often, well, at least tries to. He cannot hold her back. No. But he at least tries to for a moment, like not let them, have their chance to shine. And it's not until the last book where he's actively like Tyson, one of the characters. I'm not going to explain who characters are for the sake of non-spoilers, but I'll just mention their names. Tyson, who is one of the characters in the book who goes throughout most of the books with Percy and goes through also a lot of growth and with Percy. By the end of the book, like Percy is telling one of the gods, like, you need to let Tyson fight, like he's a good fighter. Whereas like at the beginning, like come back a few books, even in book like 2 where Tyson is introduced, and especially in book 2 and 3, he probably would have been like, no, Tyson, don't fight, like, just stay safe, just stay over there, like stay out of harm's way. Now we're like, no, Tyson needs to fight, which is like so indicative of the growth that not just obviously Tyson has gone through, but Percy has gone through, in the sense of like, I'm going to let like my friends and the people around me and trust in them and trust that they will take care of themselves. And that's a lot of the things, which sends me to my next point, growth. There is so much growth and stakes. Oh God, the stakes. There are real stakes in this. Real people die. That is like a semi-spoiler, but I'm not telling you who, what, when, where, nothing. Just know that people do die. And the fact that like those are real stakes that are set up and have real consequences that are long lasting for the rest of the series, the rest of the book, everyone feels it so heavily, and it is like an actual like game changer for a couple of characters. Okay, son, you want to come back out, please? It just got so dark for a second. But that loss means something. It like, not only is there actual loss in this children's book multiple times, by the way, it is actually like something that matters and something that has long lasting consequences. Everybody's actions in this, Percy's, especially the main character Percy's actions have consequences, for good, for better or for worse. They have consequences. And in fact, you can even see in the 5th book, like, I don't know where Rick Riordan was like, I'm gonna just leave some things open-ended because I don't know if he knew he was getting a second book or not, but like, or a second series rather, or not. But at the last book, there are even some things that are set up to be paid off later. There's actually a lot of setup in these books that get paid off throughout the series, which I thought was done really well, especially 3rd book and beyond. Like, the first 2 books were good, but like third book and beyond, 3rd and 4th, the setups and the payoffs for these are really good. Which brings me to my next thing that I want to talk about, which is the world building and some of the characters. So of course we gotta talk about Annabeth and Grover, the golden trio. Annabeth, Grover, and Percy, besties for resties. I'm so ready for the adaptation. I'm so ready. Annabeth is so special to me, and I will get into her, like really deep into her, but her character, the way in which she is written, the way every character is written in this is so complex and deep. Like, it's a children's book, and especially an early 2000s children's book. I was not expecting as much depth as we were given to Annabeth. Like, Annabeth being a core character, like there are some things in the book that literally could not happen without her. Percy, at some point, I think in book like The Labyrinth, which I think is like, is that book 4? Yeah, that's book 4, right? Literally places all his trust into her and is like, you got it, girly, which of course is like, you know, gives her time for character development and her like you know, her issues come to light and stuff like that. But like, Percy is just like, this is all you, girl, you got it, go ahead, babe, you got it. Like, that's literally the whole book. He places this much trust into her, and that's not something we see in a lot of books, especially with side characters in these teen novels. We don't really see, like, the main character has to do everything, and the side characters are there to just support the main character. And while, yeah, the side character should be there to support the main character, because these characters in this book are so much more fleshed out. Even Grover, which like is another step from side character, he still gets his whole thing, and he is important. The things that he is doing, you feel the importance in the stuff that he's doing. He has his own mission, his own goals in life and stuff like that, and you feel that it's important, which is something that I was like really happy about, that they didn't just shove his character off to the side and is like, yeah, he's doing this thing over here and it bears no importance over anything. And the interconnectivity with all of this and the gods brings me to the world building. Oh, the world building. The world building is so good. As a person who's always been into Greek mythology, even as a kid, but like never to the point where I feel like if I was super into it, I would have read Percy Jackson, but I never did. But as a person who was into it to an extent as a kid, like learning about these stories are just interesting. Like, we read, was it the Iliad in high school or the Odyssey? Are they the same thing? See, I don't know. I think it was definitely the Odyssey, but I don't know if the Iliad and the Odyssey are the same thing. But the Odyssey, we read the Odyssey, and I remember it just being so cool. Like, it wasn't like, it was obviously like an abridged, like palatable version for a high schooler to read, but I remember it being like so cool, and I was like so into it. I digress. But anyway, as this relates to Percy Jackson and the world building, Rick Riordan does such an amazing job with like integrating the gods into real life. Now, obviously, it brings up things of like, he never touches like religion. The only thing he ever touches in terms of the gods and how this would even work in real life is the whole incest thing, because technically they would all be cousins, but they're not cousins. And he's just like, no, they're not cousins. No, I promise you, they're not cousins. And we're just like, okay, you know what, Rick? Sure, bro. I want to believe that too. They are not cousins. Absolutely sure. So because it would have raised so many fucking questions, but that is like one of the first things, especially with Percy and Annabeth's relationship. It's one of the first things that you think about. It's like, wait a minute, wouldn't they be like second or third cousins at this point? And it's like, no, it's not how that works. And you're like, okay, you know what, Rick? That's fine. He explicitly states in the book that that's not how it works. So I'm gonna put my trust in you. As it relates to other stories within the world, like other hero stories, like Percy just mentions that, first of all, Percy got knowledge. I think that like people put Percy on the back burner a lot when it comes to like knowledge, but like anytime like a Greek hero gets mentioned or a Greek story gets mentioned, Percy knows about it. Percy is smart. Like, he knows about it, and if he doesn't know about it, he dreams about it, so then he has knowledge about it, like especially with the whole labyrinth. Like, that was such a great and like integrative way to integrate these stories into these books, which like obviously I think Rick Riordan has made like a spin-off book that's like just actual like Greek stories and Greek heroes and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. Like, it's just retelling those. I don't think it has anything to do with Percy Jackson. I've never read that book, but I know it exists, and I think that's really cool. Also, especially in New York, like how all the gods and stuff are integrated into New York, like Olympus being in New York. Like, Olympus could have easily been in LA, but like he was like, no. Rick was like, absolutely not. You know what's in LA? Hades. And the fact that there actually is another entrance to Hades in New York, like, bro knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. But yeah, so overall, these books are an amazing trip. If you're watching this and you haven't read any of the books yet, I highly suggest you pick them up. The audiobook isn't that bad either. I read the last one because I wanted to finish it in like 2 days. I had to finish that book in 2 days. I ended up using like my free Audible trial for oh, I need to cancel that before I get charged $15. But yeah, I ended up using my free trial for Audible on the audiobook, and the audiobook was pretty good. So if reading is hard, trust me, I know. I would try the audiobook. But yeah, it's a really good book. I feel like it felt like a journey. I said this about Amphibia when I did my video on Amphibia, because I watched it all in one sitting. It feels like a journey. It genuinely feels like this journey that you're going on. No matter how fast you read through the books, you feel that journey. And it could just be because, like, with Amphibia, it was probably because there was, like, Christmas episodes and Halloween episodes, so it felt like time has actually passed in the real world. Whereas in Percy Jackson as well, like, he gets older, like, physically older in every book. Whereas, like, some other books just keep them perpetually young forever. And it's like, okay. But, like, here you feel like he is growing. And you feel like you're going on this journey with him. Especially through his narrative voice. You always feel like you and Percy are on the same side. Because there is no omniscient, like, narrator in this case. You don't know what's going on half the time. You don't. You know nothing. The only time we know about any other character doing anything else is if Percy has a dream about it, which I really liked. I like when the narrator and the reader are on the same page. The reader doesn't know as much as the main character, and the main character doesn't know more than what the reader knows. I love that because it puts you on the same page and it makes you have a better connection with Percy. These books, a lot of the time, young adult books, really harp on, you know, having the main character be like this blank slate so that we as the readers can input ourselves in these, especially YN, like YN, yeah, basically young adult, like YN novels, pretty much, where like we are supposed to input ourselves into these characters, where Percy just is like the exact opposite of that. He's all personality, he's all character development. He makes choices that I wouldn't have necessarily made. He says things that I would have necessarily said, and because of that, we are given such a better and enriching story than just having like a blank slate character to go throughout. I mentioned earlier, and I never finished that thought, about a lot of these main characters, especially the male ones, being emotionally constipated, because they are. We get to see Percy. First of all, Percy has this amazing connection with everybody around him, feels his full range of emotions, which is like, this should be required reading for every child, especially like male children who like are like, you know, told throughout the world to just like repress their emotions and shit. When we get to see Percy, who is a kid from the ages of 12 to 18, 16 in this, throughout everything, his whole fucking life, absolutely at any point in time, he could have just shut down, repressed his emotions, any of that. But he doesn't. Rick Riordan doesn't write him like that. You know, he writes a person who cares deeply for his mother and for his friends, and he has so much love to give, and we get to see that full range of emotions through him, which is like so refreshing to see and was leagues better than my expectations were. So yeah, you should absolutely go read this series. My ranking of the books from least great to best is best. All of the books were good, but this is just my ranking from least to best. Number 2, which is the island, the one where they go to the island, and that's where Tyson gets, even though I love Tyson to death, but that's the least book. And then number 1, which is The Lightning Thief, the first book. And then I want to say 3, then 5, then 4. 5 and 4 constantly switch to being the best book, because number 4 was just so good, but number 5 is also the culmination of everything coming together with such a satisfying ending. So 4 and 5 like switch for a best spot, but it's like 2, 1, 3, and then either 4 or 5, depending on the day and depending on what I'm feeling. But yeah, so now we're gonna get into spoiler territory. Spoiler alert. We need to talk about Luke. Which, if you don't care at this point, you don't care about spoilers, Luke is the main antagonist of the entire series. He starts off as a kid at Camp Half-Blood, and he is like Percy's mentor in the first book, and he has a lot of history with Annabeth and another character, Thalia, or Thalia, one of the two. Anyway, and he just ends up betraying the camp and Olympus, and he's gonna go work for Kronos, who is like the bigger bad of the entire series. I kept a lot of this out of the non-spoiler section because there's so much I have to say about Luke. I did not like Luke at first as a character. I did not like him as a villain at first. I was actually very much so like, he was very one note to me, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense for his motivations and his characters until the final book. The final book, really, I don't know, Rick Riordan had some type of like feedback from people who were talking about Luke, because the final book gave me exactly what I needed to like Luke as an antagonist, to like him as a character in the final book. In the final book, we get so much backstory, just in case you don't care for spoilers. We get so much backstory with Luke in terms of why he is the way that he is. Because at first, I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought it was just daddy issues. I was like, there is no way you are giving yourself to Lord Kronos. No fucking way, bro. You are literally going through all of this, giving your whole body and soul and everything to Lord Kronos because you don't like your dad. Because your dad was a deadbeat. You know who else can say that? Percy. You know who else can say that? Well, Annabeth about her mom. Like, you know who else can say that? Literally every other half-blood, bro. So what makes you so special that you're gonna go the extra mile and give in to Kronos's, like, whims and shit? Like, what made you think that? That's why I was just always like, this just does not make any sense. Like, it was just kind of for a long time. And then the fifth book happened. The fifth book happened where we learn about his backstory with his mom, and everything just clicks into place. Also, that was very sad. When Percy and Nico went to go visit his mom, Luke's mom, I was crying. Because that was the saddest fucking thing ever. And also one of the most realist thing. Rick Riordan has, like, out of nowhere, especially in the, like, fourth and fifth book, there are just random moments that are so raw and so real that it, like, concerns me. Like, the whole thing with Calypso, because the romance in this book, and I'll get to that's gonna be, like, my last thing I'm gonna talk about is the romance in this book. But the romance in this book is very, like, against all odds type of romance, right? Like, it's a slow burn. So to add Calypso in there, it's just, like, random. Like, the thing I kind of didn't like is, like, every girl that, like, Percy comes across, he got the riz. Apparently, he got the riz from the gods. I don't know, his dad must have got extra riz and passed it on to him. Because every fucking girl that Percy comes across falls for him. Falls in front of him. It's like, oh my god, Percy. Like, they really, literally do. I made a whole TikTok about it. But anyway, the whole Calypso thing made me feel for her despite just having met her. Because it made me so sad, because I was like, girly, you're not gonna, no, because it's Percybeth forever. It's Percybeth against all odds. Aphrodite got her foot in that. Like, it's not happening. And she knew it wasn't gonna happen, and it was just so sad. Like, I actually was crying. I was like, oh my god, like, this is so fucking sad. And she said, she gave him that flower and was like, go build a garden in New York for me. Like, tears down my face. Like, Rick just wrote, like, the rawest line, like, ever. For, like, I was literally like, no way did that just happen. There were so many times during this book, I was literally like, no way did that just happen. Absolutely no way did that just happen. Absolutely no fucking way. And that's the same with Luke's character when learning about his mom. I was like, that makes so much more sense now. Everything made more sense. This kind of, like, looming, like, knowledge that Luke had about, like, the gods not being able to do anything, and the gods and their ways and their rules just hurting everything and everything in their path and not being able to do anything about it. And seeing that happen to him firsthand, not just with his dad not helping him, but also his dad leaving his mother in the state that she was left in, and also his mom getting to that state in the first place. That was, like, I don't know, it was life-changing. It really was. It made me see Luke in an entirely different light and made more sense to his character. Like, again, I don't know if Rick Riordan got, like, feedback on that, because I was really not rooting for Luke. Like, had that not happened, them go to see his mom and that whole, like, Oracle subplot not happened, we would have gotten to the final fight and Luke did what he did to save the day, and I just would have been like, cool. But I actually felt something because Luke, like, all of this combination, yes, it was Luke's hubris that got him into the situation, but also it's Luke and the gods and it's a system, right? And that made more sense for Luke to become the, like, ultimate, Kronos is the ultimate antagonist, to become Kronos's, like, puppet, basically, made so much more sense now that, like, I knew that, okay, he is, like, he has more to it. There's more to it. It's more of a systemic issue than it is just Luke being mad at his dad for not being in his life. That made just a lot more sense to me. So speaking of which, Percybeth was annoying. They were so annoying. So how you gonna be like in the last book, be like, oh, Selena and Beauregard or whatever the hell his name was, they got together, and the whole camp was like, duh, of course you guys like each other. It's about time y'all got together. Like, you aren't calling the kettle black, pot. What the hell? I was really just like, no way Percy is saying this to me right now, when every time a girl even looks in Percy's direction, Annabeth gets jealous. When anytime Annabeth brings up Luke, Percy gets jealous. They were annoying. Like, and not annoying in like, oh, this was written poorly type of way. They were annoying in the way of like, y'all get it together. Like, y'all are kids. Please get it together. Like, I was like, oh my God, teenagers. Like, that's how well Rick Riordan wrote these characters. Like, he never aged them up more than what they needed to be. He allowed them to be kids despite the circumstances that they were in, which was amazing, which is why, like, I'm glad Percabeth didn't happen within the first like 2 books. The fact that it was a build up over the course of 5 books, and then now we get to see even more, because I personally, I'm a fan more of established relationships than getting together in fiction, because I feel like established relationships are just more interesting to me when you're dealing with people's dynamics. But this is like the one like getting together slow burn. I don't usually like slow burns either, but this is the one getting together slow burn that I was like, nah, y'all were right. Like, I get it. People talk about Percabeth being like the only straight ship that they like, and it's like, no, I get it now. Like, I totally absolutely understand why Percabeth is like the only straight ship that I have tolerated, especially from beginning to where we are now. Like, oh, absolutely. The only issue I had with Annabeth is that she just she was keeping secrets a little bit too much. Like, girlie, you don't think that you need to share some of this knowledge with the rest of the class at any point in time? You don't think that like maybe you should share? Like, it just was like she was keeping a lot of these secrets for no reason. And I know it's just build up in tension, but I was just like, girlie, there was a lot you could have said halfway. Like, getting mad at Percy, there was a lot of moments, I talked about this earlier, but like there were a lot of moments where Percy was like, what did I say? What did I do? Like, what, please explain to me. And I'm sitting here like, no, Percy, I get it. Please explain to me too. What did he do wrong? I don't understand. He said something insensitive, but he don't even know what the fuck he said. Like, girl. I'm so glad they ended up together in the end. And I'm so glad the campers had the reaction that they did, because, oh, absolutely. Another standout character, and I'll wrap it up with this, is Nico. Oh, my boy Nico. He gets his own little section, because going back to Luke, before I learned about Luke's backstory, I was really kind of pissed off because it just felt like every other character, especially characters that have been antagonists at some point, had more dimension and more of a motive to be Kronos' puppet than Luke. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe I'm missing something, like, let me know down in the comments below before I learned about his backstory. But Nico has every right and every bone in his body to basically be the antagonist that Luke was. But he wasn't. While like Nico still holds this sense of like doing right, despite the fact that like his sense of right and wrong is twisted, and his ways of getting to the ends justify the means type like notion in his head, but he still wants to do right. Like, he still wants to be a good guy, which is like, I love Nico so much. Oh my God, do y'all know I have, where did I put it? It should be here. Oh my God, where did I put it? Like, actually, did I not put it? Oh, it's right here. Sorry, I was mad confused. This, Velinxi, I never know how to pronounce their name, but they make beautiful art, and I recently got this art book, which is a Percy Jackson fan book of, like, all the fan arts they've done. Let me show you my favorite one. But it's all the fan arts they've done of Percy Jackson in the style of Hades, the game. It's literally so good. It is so good, and Nico is like one of the focal points of it, because Nico is the son of Hades, obviously. And it's so good. Like, Nico has wormed his way into my heart. Like, that's my son now. Where is it? Oh, here we go. I actually have this as a print. I got this as a print as well when I bought the book, and it's hanging up on my wall in this beautiful golden frame, because it's just so good. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about Nico for a second. I just felt like Nico had so much more of a motive. I know he gets his own book, little series or whatever, and he's gonna get more time within the next series, Heroes of Olympus. Yeah, but I just wanted to talk about him for a little bit, because especially as it relates to Luke, I just felt like he had so much more of a motive. Especially, like, he had so much more of a motive to be Kronos' puppet than Luke did. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's the fact that Luke was so pliable and young and who knows what. But like getting that backstory from Luke was really paramount, because I would have ended that series like I didn't really care for Luke. But now I understand Luke and I understand his character a lot more, and his character was redeemed in the end, writing wise, not even like actual plot wise, but redeemed in the terms of like I feel like he was a good character. So yeah, that's my take on Percy Jackson. Come talk to me about this below. There's probably so much more I could have said, but this video, it's like longer than any of the videos I've made in the past like 6 months. So let me know if you guys want to hear about Heroes of Olympus when I start reading it. Maybe I'll do little book vlogs here and there. If you want to see like my reactions to some of these books, you can come find me on my TikTok. Like all my social medias always linked down below. Let me know what you guys want to see. Again, I hope you've had a happy new year. Like, come in the comments, let's talk, let's do this. Again, let me know about that Discord. So if y'all want to talk, because I already got the sections planned out. There'll be a book section, a manga section, anime section, cartoon. I already got it picked out. So like, let me know down in the comments. I did my makeup in the same vein. I feel like none of you actually watched that old, because this is a really old video, but like the video where I talked about finishing the first Percy Jackson book, I did this exact same makeup, and it's just kind of like a revamped version of that. So if you guys want to know anything about me at all, let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.